Trump in China, getting the red carpet, quite literally. Well, everything's red in China, so, but the commie carpet, you could call it, in China. But so Trump entering China with all these CEOs, and let's just watch as they made quite a big deal for him. It's always fascinating to me how these countries really do go nuts for Trump when he arrives. So we have Trump landing in Beijing, China with this reception. Joining him, Tim Cook, who just stepped down. He took Larry Fink with him, which I find very interesting. I know Trump and Fink do not get along. We got Blackstone CEO, Boeing, Cargill, Jane Fraser Citi, Chuck Robbins from Cisco, Jim Anderson from Coherent, GE Aerospace, Lawrence Kolb, Goldman Sachs, Illumina. These are all the CEOs. I'm reading the companies because a lot of these names aren't well known. We got Meta, not Zuckerberg, which is interesting. Micron, Nvidia, which is Jensen Huang. You got Elon's with him, Qualcomm, and Visa. These are some of the biggest CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the world for tech and finance. Really interesting. Why? I mean, you can look at this several ways. A, they're going to be bringing these guys in to basically tell them how it's going to be going forward. You could be bringing them in for expertise, although I don't really think Trump cares that much about these guys, what they're bringing to the table and what their ideas are and everything. But the other thing that I've heard kind of pushed around is this a flex? And let's talk about that here in a second. Like, how is he flexing here? So it says Trump is already going into the meeting with an antagonistic posture, bringing the leaders of the American AI industry as a slap in the face. China has no counterparts to bring, and they know it. Resting your gold medals on the table during the dinner with the guy who won silver. We've been talking about how China's economy is just nowhere near where they say it is. They are just nowhere near the competitor we were promised. We were told that they were, competing with us. We couldn't, we couldn't stay ahead of them. They were catching up to us quick. By 2030, they were going to surpass us. And yet, that's nowhere near close to truth. They're at like 60% of our economy, and they're fading fast. They're going backwards while we are increasing significantly. That's the kind of stuff nobody talks about, right? How much that actually matters. When you're talking about the decline of the U.S., how bad things have gotten, which are true. And if the Obama elites with, the Biden era, if it had been able to continue with Kamala Harris and so on and so forth, and we had fully integrated into this globalist cabal City of London system, it absolutely would have happened. Because they would have kept degrading us, using our resources, using our finances, using our military for their purposes to lift them up, while the middle class here continued dying, and we became just more and more of a poverty-ridden service economy with an elite class and basically the communist structure. Okay, that's what they wanted to do, bleed us dry. And China was going to keep rising to some extent because they wouldn't have been challenged in the same way. But the EU and the globalist type, those are the ones who are really going to thrive if it all had turned out the way they wanted. That's not happening anymore. Trump has reversed this very quickly. And he's, by using the full might of not just our military, but everything, our industry, our tech capabilities, our financial capabilities, all of that. So what's he do? He goes to China, which I can't remember the last time a president went to China, at least not with this kind of fanfare, and just basically flops the nuts on the table, right? Just here, I'm bringing the crew with me. Everybody that competes with you guys, everybody that, well, some of them work with them, Apple, but Trump's been slapping the tariffs on them. So Apple's been moving some of their stuff to India and some of it at home, they say. We'll see if that actually pans out. But the point is this, is that he took all of them, even the ones he doesn't like, even the ones he flat out hates, like Larry Fink, is like, this is the might of America. Like our powerhouse is financial, how we are so far ahead of you guys. And he's bringing them to this meeting. I don't know. I just find that fascinating. MJ Truth has a little more on this. Why are all these CEOs in China with Trump and Xi Jinping? What they're reportedly discussing. Trade deals and big Chinese purchase commitments, aircraft, soybeans, etc. Easing restrictions on U.S. tech exports, especially AI chips. Better market access for American companies in China, which, well, we'll see. I find that one interesting. But Trump is getting that investment. But some of these people he's already kind of handcuffed, right? He's called them out. He's put restrictions on them. He's tariffed to force them away from like their manufacturing in China and their investments. He's with Blackstone and BlackRock specifically. He's trying to pull them out of the housing industry. So a lot of Trump's policies have hurt these companies and made them pull back from basically gouging us, taking advantage of the people. And so to take them there, I don't know. That's just interesting to me. Investment opportunities, supply chain stability, overall framework to reduce tensions and boost business. Now, I do agree with this. Reduce tensions and boost business. But I also think what Trump's doing is he's going there and saying, you guys have stolen from us for years. Stolen from us. And the freebie days are over. And I know that China, because, you know, every time I go into the City of London stuff, how they're our greatest enemy, I inevitably get the response, no, it's actually China. You know, the Steve Bannon crowd, they all like, they just are so China hyper-focused. No, it's all China. And I mean, they're not wrong, except they have the order flipped. City of London, the globalists, the cabal, Davos, they are the ones who made it so we let China in. Okay? We, like right now, Kash Patel, the other day on Hannity, talking about all these Chinese in our government. That tells you they know it. That tells you we have them monitored. So if we had them monitored the whole time, they weren't just sneakily getting in, they were being let in. Under Obama's watch. I mean, you can go back to the Clintons getting busted for selling secrets to the Chinese. So you got the Clintons, probably under the Bush administration too. We've heard a little bit less from that, but it's just been going on forever. All right. Definitely the Obama administration, definitely the Biden administration, just letting them in. And there's a reason for that, because by letting China in, the globalists, what they were allowing to do, Davos and China, they don't get along. They are rivals as well. City of London does not have, you know, they're not getting along with Xi Jinping and them, which is one of the reasons why China has been a little bit more, they've played along with Trump a little bit more than, say, other presidents. Okay, they've just always had this rivalry with the U.S., and China will do anything it can to gain more power. Meanwhile, Trump's basically exposed them as this paper tiger militarily and financially. As far as like being an actual rival to us. But regardless, they will do whatever they can to keep growing. And this global cabal has let them in. The puppeteers of Obama, the deep state in America has let them in. Why? Because it weakened us. And that was the whole point all along. Let's break America up. Let's let it fall apart. Let's let it get sucked dry so that it collapses at some point. So that, you know, it falls apart. It's easier for us to have power over. And so it was all allowed. And at this point, I think it's obvious. But Trump's over there now and is like, you guys owe us. Let's figure this out. You guys, you know what? We're not going to stop you from being China. I don't want to take you over. I don't want to actually like make things worse between us. But what I also am not going to do, you're not going to steal from us anymore. You're not going to take Taiwan. You're not, you know, we're not going to play these games anymore. I'm tired of you guys taking advantage of us. So let's set the record straight. How about we just meet each other as equals, equal ground, Trump, he's a deal maker. That's what he wants. So that's where it will reduce tensions. And then I have a feeling like the boost business part is he's looking to get a little bit back from what they've stolen from us. Now, in England today, King Charles announced digital ID. And this post says, I couldn't help but notice all the players that we necessary to do this are literally there. Roughly half the group is centered on AI, chips, networking, data, digital payments, smart tech, EVs, autonomous driving. This trip also heavily emphasizes digital economy alongside traditional trade. Tech and semiconductors, AI, biggest group, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Micron, Apple, blah, blah, blah. Finance and digital payments, BlackRock, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Visa, MasterCard, and then aerospace engineering. Boeing, GE Aerospace, agriculture, Cargill, shared focus. So really touches on a lot of our industries. Says this is a historic meeting. This meeting will change the face of global trade and digital world for a millennia. Again, timing is everything. Speaking of Steve Bannon, he always says, I don't believe in coincidences. Well, I don't either. And so why is the UK moving forward on stuff like this at the same time Trump's going over there? They're frightened over here on the EU side of things. They're frightened because what Trump is doing, just like he did in the Middle East, which everybody said was impossible, right? You can never bring peace to the Middle East. These countries hate us. These countries hate Israel. They'll never stop. And yet, whether they still hate us or not, whether they still hate Israel or not, Trump's made deals with all of the Middle East pretty much except for Iran. Pretty much they're all in at this point. Most of them have signed the Abraham Accords. We have deals with almost all of them. And remember, Trump had that momentous trip out there last year, signing all the trade deals. And now we're basically trade partners or economic allies with all these countries in the Middle East. And the Middle East, other than Iran, has been pretty tame since Trump went in all the way back in 2017, 2018 and started this whole venture. I was always told it was impossible. And that really, really hurts the whole globalist plans, their 2030 Great Reset. Well, you know what hurts it even more? If we get this figured out with China. Because if China and us are all of a sudden getting along, even though they're still communists, they're still human rights violators, there's still a bunch of awful stuff about China, but Trump's like, you know what? We're going to focus on what we can get along with. And you guys are going to stay out of it, and we're going to stay over here, and we'll leave each other alone and get along on this. And that's what Trump wants to do. Trump truly believes that by rebuilding economies, rebuilding relationships, bringing peace to the world, that ultimately is what is going to make people take back their countries. That's what he believes. And so far, he's been mostly proven right. Not war, not planting our military there and forcing them to become a democracy or republic. That's not Trump's style, and he's been proven right in many ways so far. So that's what he wants to do with China, and I believe this is what that's really about. It doesn't mean he's not being tough, but so what they're doing is they're doubling down on their citizens at the same time, and I just can't help but notice that timing there. Tom Luongo talking about this right here, where we are about to. Trump is going to submit 6 months written notice on July 1st to exit the USMCA. After out of the USMCA, items listed will no longer be protected from tariffs. I suspect Trump will crank tariffs to the moon on Canadian goods. So this is the U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement. Suspect Trump will crank tariffs to the moon on Canadian goods, pricing Canada completely out of the U.S. market. Market Canada depends on to purchase 70 to 80% of its exports. Of course, there'll be carve-outs for Americans. Won't be longer after this event. Canada's economy will collapse. Why would Trump do all this at the same time he's going to China? Be planning on this. Because Canada is the EU rep, the City of London, Davos rep here in still the Western Hemisphere. It's time to make Canada stop being Canada. And I don't mean hockey. I don't mean Canadian whiskey, Canadian beer, Canadian, maple syrup, all the great stuff about Canada. We love all that. What we don't like is this EU system that is constantly looking to undermine the U.S. at every opportunity, take advantage of our trade, take advantage of our northern border, bringing in nonstop. Like they are trying to just wipe out the entire white population of Canada, the original population of Canada, by bringing in Indians like you wouldn't believe. The H-1Bs we have here are nothing compared to the importing they're doing up there. They are replacing their entire population. And it's ugly, and they're doubling down. Trudeau was bad. Carney is worse, and Carney was a banker with the EU. It tells you all you need to know. So Trump working on this, and as Tom Luongo breaks it down, the odds of this happening increase if he gets an ARC favorable outcome to talks with China. ARC being America, Russia, China, because we're really the only three major powers in the world left that have major financial systems that can stand on their own sovereignty, the resources that can go out to the world, and remain. China needs a little bit more imports than Russia or America, but still, the massive country with land and the military capability to be stronger than most other countries. It's America, Russia, and China. It is. That's us. And if the three of us are getting along, the rest of the world is mostly going to be at peace. There's going to be little skirmishes, but that's the triangle right there. You get those three getting along, trading with each other, figuring it out, and maybe someday Europe will rejoin the party, but they have priced themselves out. They have killed their industry. They've killed their manufacturing. They've killed their military. They've taken themselves out of the game, except for the financial system, which they've used to control everything in the shadows. But that's ending. So Trump is building the real bridges that matter. And he says the odds of this happening increase if he gets this outcome to talk to China. Remember, however, nothing Trump does with Xi will be spun as a victory. If Iran has taught you nothing else, it's this. Watch cross-market action, how that lines up with Trump's actions with or to our Canadian partners. He's absolutely right. No matter what happens in China, we're going to get a terrible bunch of a spin on it. They just can't let him have a win. So what is going to be said if we get a deal with China, which, we can't fully trust China. But that's the thing is with Trump, he forces them to play along with the tariffs, the games. He's the only president who's ever fought back to their chicanery, their willingness to steal and lie and cheat. He's willing to force them to face repercussions from that. He took away a lot of their access in Venezuela. China was using Venezuela for oil and had a strategic positioning there. That's why Venezuela had a bunch of Chinese weapons, military weapons, and even like the anti-aircraft that we just pummeled right through. Same with Iran. Trump is cutting off all of China's the Belt and Road Initiative. He's cutting off these areas that gave China a little bit of an upper hand because they would do business with the places we wanted, right? The places taken over by authoritarians, the places taken over by communists. China's like, we don't care. We'll come in and just get their stuff for cheap. Trump's cutting all that off. So there's been consequences for China. And that's just, they've never seen that before. So this is how we can hold them to a deal. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, this is how's this impacting Iran and the rest of the world? Well, again, it all comes down to what Trump did in Iran. And this is part of the reason he's in China right now with more leverage than ever before. Because Iran was giving China their oil at 90% cheaper, 90% off market prices, wholesale, because who else were they selling to? They didn't really have many other opportunities. So now the Financial Times, which is a hardcore left-wing paper, is having to admit some of the repercussions this is having on, we talked about a little bit yesterday, like places like China and India. When oil prices corrected in early April following the U.S.-Iran ceasefire agreement, foreign investors did not use the opportunity to re-enter India. It's over. India's finished as an economic power. Even if the straits open tomorrow, investors aren't coming back. This is how Trump is using Iran to reorder the system. And as Luongo reports when the Financial Times reports this openly, again, means more than it says on the surface. While EMs are doing well in general, India has seen a huge capital outflows because real investors know the old world of playing both sides for London's over. And then he talks about what Turkey's looking to do next. EU has been using India as a proxy. They were using Iran as a proxy. China was taking its advantage of all this, and that's all just being cut off. So why do they hate the Iran war so much? This is one thing. First war that Europe didn't join us in. First war they didn't send NATO to. First war UK didn't join us in. We have the American public because of the media. See, every time we went to war before, the public, because the media would report it positively, the public would be up for it at first because they trusted our government. They trusted our presidents to be at least like, whether we get along or not, when it comes to national defense, national security, we're just going to try to believe that at least this might turn into something good. So it would always start that way. And most military conflicts would start with 80% approval, 70% approval, but it'd be very high. It would cross boundary lines of Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent. This was the first one where it's only been one side that supports it, and that's the side that trusts Trump. And one of the reasons for that is the media from the beginning has been critical. You have the MAGA grifters. They all go out against it, which that's even crazier because they all were supposed to be people who trusted Trump. So you have them not even give him a chance on this. Even after the success of Venezuela, they don't even give him a chance in Iran to prove it's worthwhile. And then he'll still hold to his promise of no stupid wars, no forever wars. You have the media, which is always against it. So you have the first time ever we go into a major conflict like this without support. That's even at least like at the initial outset. Why? I mean, it makes so much sense when you look at it through this lens that this is actually the end of their system, the end of their good times. It's finally putting the rest of the world on that their back foot. They're backpedaling now. They cannot let this end well. And that's why we get nonstop coverage. Even on Two-Way this morning, which, I enjoy the show Two-Way. Mark Halperin, he's obviously a lib, but he is, even though he tries to play it in the middle, but he does a good job of trying to like allow both sides to speak their piece. But he is just now harping on Iran, how it's a mess. And all he quotes is Republicans who say it's a mess and, how he cherry picks. And so even in like the moderate media, they are going there. So you have all the podcast-to-stand grifters going against it. You have obviously the left-wing media they didn't even give it a chance. And now you even have the people who are kind of like trying to pretend to be honest and impartial. Even they're trying to make it. And this is what's crazy. They were likening it to Vietnam today. Likening it to Vietnam when Vietnam lasted years before people were like, this is a problem. We've been there 2 months. 2 months. And for the last month, there's barely been even any fighting. It's not like Americans are coming home in body bags every day. This is absolutely crazy to be making such a big deal of it in a negative light already, especially when it looks like it's coming to the end. Jesse Waters reported last night that the Pentagon has a plan to escalate the Iran war called Project Sledgehammer. Top secret nuclear submarines were just deployed that shoots missiles at targets 4,500 miles away. Now, just because they're nuclear submarines doesn't mean they're launching nukes. Okay, guys, just in case that scared you, don't worry. Trump is not going to launch nukes. Trump hates nukes. He hates the idea of them. He only keeps them because other people have them. But Saudi Arabia and UAE are conducting strikes on Iran, which we knew, and now we knew a UAE, but Saudi Arabia is now being reported as doing so. And Trump's en route to China, while Rubio's wearing the Maduro outfit on Air Force One. I would play this clip, but it's 8 minutes long, and I don't want to sit through 8 minutes. But this is very interesting, how this all coming together. Trump the submarines you can't track, not our submarines, especially not with the capabilities Iran has. But you got to know they're packing some heat. I have a feeling that this has been being plotted for several weeks. And what Trump did is he gave it the last moment for Iran to finally give one last middle finger to the deals Trump's trying to put out, and then it's on. It's on. And then the fact that Saudi Arabia and UAE, he allowed them to start the escalation right now, that's very interesting to me. Because that means now this is a war the entire Gulf is a part of and supporting. Now we get to look like we're just providing the backup. Let them do their troops. Let them bring people in. Let them maybe get the weapons to the protesters. I don't know what it's going to look like. But it's very interesting. And then, of course, Rubio wearing the Maduro outfit, which is just hilarious, as basically a reminder of what we've already pulled off. Let me see if I can get to where it shows him in it. Rubio is hilarious, by the way. But that's signal. Because what did we do in Venezuela? It just ended. There it is. It ended so well and so quickly. And it also was so emphatic. Done and out. Remind the world what you're doing. And on top of that, Trump's now posting Venezuela as the 51st state, which is much more likely to be Alberta, let's be honest. But this is absolutely hilarious that he keeps trolling all these countries like this and trolling the world, honestly, because he's making everybody wonder, because there are people who legitimately think he's a dictator and crazy enough to do stuff like this. So why not just keep enforcing their insane beliefs? Why not? But again, what I keep coming back to, guys, is that these moves Trump's making, bringing in all these guys, where is the, oh, my bad, I lost it. Let me get back to here. Bringing in all these guys, flopping the nuts on the table, showing your hand, while also getting ready to escalate in Iran. What if he attacks while in China? What a flex that would be. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I can tell you, to me, this looks like Trump has all the cards, just as he says. And everybody out there freaking out and the pressure ramping on that, the noise getting louder is a sign to me that this is not only going to end soon, but it's going to end very well for Trump and all involved for the U.S. So I, for one, I'm really excited. I can't wait till it ends, because I think what we're going to see afterwards, when oil prices go down, that's when it's going to get really, really fun. And I don't think we're far off.